Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Krish and I'm a fourth year medic, currently studying at the University of Nottingham. Today's video is going to be all about the UCAT exam. So if you're watching this, I assume you're taking the exam this year. If you've not booked your exam yet, pause the video right now and go over to their website and book your exam. So without further ado, let's get on with the video. So in terms of scoring, there's actually 5 sections to the UCAT exam. There's verbal reasoning, decision making, quantitative reasoning, abstract reasoning, and the situational judgment test. The first 4 sections are scored out of a maximum of 900 marks. The last section is scored in bands, band 1 to 4. 900 being the highest possible score, and band 1 being the highest possible band. So before you even start your revision, there's some important UCAT terminology that you should know. A question set is where there's one passage or one overlying theme, and there might be 4 questions each related to that paragraph. The next terminology you need to know is a passage. A passage is especially in verbal reasoning, where there's a 200 to 300 word piece of writing which you may have to analyse and figure out the answers in the verbal reasoning section. The third terminology that you should be aware of is an item. An item is a statement or question with 3 or 4 different answers. So these will come over different sections and they might help you in the future to understand what you're actually doing. So now for some general tips for the UCAT exam. One of the most important things to remember is that the UCAT exam is an online test, which means that in order to be the most efficient at writing down the answers, the best thing to do is to learn the keyboard shortcuts. So if you press the Alt key and N, that will get you to the next question. Alt and P takes you to the previous question. Alt and F will flag the question, and Alt and C will open the calculator. Those last 2 are super important. When you're using the calculator, you have to use the on-screen calculator and you can't use your own handheld one. What this means is that it might actually be a lot harder to use because you're not easily typing on it. You have to actually either use the mouse, which is extremely difficult, or use the number pad on the side of your computer. I would highly suggest using the number pad because that functions similar to an actual calculator. Also, since you are able to take the UCAT exam at home this year, this will be the first time that you're able to take the UCAT exam on a Mac system. However, in the past, all the test centers have been running Windows, so there's no translation of those keyboard shortcuts to Mac as of yet. But as soon as I get any information about that, I will definitely let you guys know. If you do have the facility of using a Windows PC or Windows laptop for your UCAT test at home, I would highly recommend you do so. And if you don't have a number pad keyboard, I would highly recommend that you go out and purchase one of those because that could be invaluable in your test. Flagging the question is also important. If you find a question extremely difficult, then you can just flag the question and move on to the next one so you don't waste time. Because remember, the UCAT is an extremely time-pressured exam. This means that after you've finished all of the questions, you can go back to your flagged questions and review all the questions which you found harder. So my main tip is to just keep on practicing. And remember, consistency is key. You should be practicing a little bit every single day. So for the final section of this video, I've done a Q&A. I've gone out and asked some of my followers and friends who are actually taking the UCAT exam this year as to what questions they have for me and just in general about the UCAT. So let's jump right into it. Question number 1. There's a choice to take the UCAT exams at home. So how will these exams be monitored? So these exams actually use the Pearson VUE system and their on-view monitoring system. What this means is a few things. Number 1, you need to have a functioning computer with a functioning webcam in order to take this exam. You also need a strong internet connection so that you can have a constant video chat with the invigilator. Number 2, there's a system check test on the Pearson website which will check if your laptop or computer is capable of running the Pearson on-view system. I'll link this in the description below, so have a look. If you are planning on taking the test at home, please run this and see if you're capable of doing so. Number 3, if you have noisy roommates or pets, you need to make sure that they're not in the same room as you. So you need to have a secluded area or a secluded room where you shut off, there's no distractions and no noise. You also need to prepare the room by removing any preparatory materials from the room so that there's no distractions and again, no cheating can be allowed. Additionally, before the exam, you need to check in by uploading a picture of your photo ID, a picture of your surroundings, and then also a headshot of yourself, just so that they can check you are actually who you say you are. Finally, during the exam, you will be monitored constantly through the webcam and the microphone, and you are not allowed to leave the room at all. So the second question I got was, how much preparation is enough? This is an extremely difficult question. It's different for every single person and it varies on how you learn. What I've found over the course of tutoring multiple students is that the perfect amount of time to practice is actually 2 months. I've had some students that have been practicing for longer than that, and they get kind of burnt out and tired and bored. So I don't advise you doing more than 2 months. I think 2 months is a sweet spot. But if you do less than 2 months, then you might feel underprepared and you might not practice enough. Question number 3 was, which UCAT preparation course is the best, or which book should I use, etc. So I spoke to a bunch of my medic friends and all of them have come to one conclusion. That conclusion is that Medify is the best resource for preparing for UCAT. Most people do get the 1,250 questions book. This is quite good as an introduction and quite good as like a first step. But in terms of practice questions, I think Medify is better. Not only because it has more questions, but it is also an online course, which means that it's quite similar to your actual environment in terms of the way that you answer the questions with the online calculator, etc. It also calculates your score for you, so I think this is one of the better courses that you can use online. Also, just a disclaimer, I'm in no way sponsored or affiliated with Medify. This is my own personal opinion and the opinion of my friends too. But Medify, if you're watching, sponsor me. So yeah, in conclusion, just buy Medify, and if you want the book as well, that will help you with understanding the techniques. The next question is, what score is realistically needed to get into a London uni? This is actually a difficult question to answer as every single university uses the UCAT in a slightly different way. And it's also difficult because you can talk about undergraduate or even graduate medicine as well. The thing with UCAT is your score is placed into deciles. So I'm going to have a table over here showing your decile. It's safe to say that if you're in the top half of all students, as an undergraduate, most unis that use the UCAT exam will be inclined to invite you to interview. For graduate entry, remember, it's a bit more competitive, so you might want to be a bit higher up in the deciles. But remember, there's also other aspects to your application, and it's not just the UCAT. The next question is, which unis use the UCAT for graduate entry medicine in 2021? For undergraduate entry, there's 2 different exams. There's the BMAT exam and the UCAT exam. For graduate, it's a bit more complicated in the sense that there's a UCAT exam, BMAT, and also the GAMSAT exam. So here's a list specifically for the graduate medicine courses of which universities use which exam. Feel free to pause the video here and take a screenshot. The next question is it best to take the test at a test centre or at home? I've actually discussed this briefly in my previous video, which was the UCAT coronavirus update. In my opinion, it would be best to take it at home because there's more of a home environment and you're more used to that environment. But there are pros and cons to both. For example, one advantage of taking it at the test centre would be that when you get there, you have significant exam adrenaline and you also have all the facilities there for you. For example, a whiteboard and the correct computer and the number pad keyboard as well. If you don't have a webcam or a suitable computer, then it's definitely advisable to go to the test centre rather than to buy an additional webcam. So the last and final question is, what is the most effective revision technique for the UCAT? I've had a video in the past about revision techniques, but this kind of doesn't apply to the UCAT itself. The UCAT isn't a learning or memorization based exam, it's more of an aptitude test. And the way that you get better at this test is simply just practice, practice, practice. So what I would recommend is that first of all, you go out and learn all the different techniques for every single section, and then you just practice. In the future, I will be putting up videos per section on the different techniques that you need to do, and then I might put some practice questions online as well. So like and subscribe if you're looking forward to seeing more of that content. So I hope you found that video enjoyable and useful. Subscribe for more content, like the video, and leave a comment down below for any questions or queries. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.